Good day from Growing Scholars. This is Misty Spinelli. Today we're going to talk about something which we do effortlessly. Bad habits cause us to effortlessly do bad things, and good habits cause us to effortlessly do good things. So parents, the more good habits that you can train into your children, the easier it will be for them to have a well-formed life where they can effortlessly do good things. All parents already do this. We make our kids go to bed at a certain time each night so that they will have the habit of being able to go to sleep. We make them brush their teeth every morning and every evening so that they develop the lifelong habit of daily brushing their teeth with no effort. Charlotte Mason was an educator in England in the Victorian era. She developed a philosophy of education which is particularly effective for young children. One of her many tenets is the importance of training good habits into our children. Charlotte Mason says we need to habit train a lot more good things into our kids, such as getting up on time in the morning as soon as they're awakened, making their bed, picking up after themselves, doing their lessons timely and when asked to be done. All these things are very important habits. I've managed to develop a few good habits in my adulthood which make my life much easier. I make my bed without thinking. I wash the dishes after dinner without dreading and hating it. All of these things I was able to do through consistency. For instance, I got the habit of making up my bed because a kitten was sleeping on my pillow while I was away at work during the day. So I began to pull the covers up over my pillow so she wouldn't be able to do that. And in the process, after a few months of pulling up the covers and then taking another 3 seconds to make it look nice, I had developed what has become a lifelong habit of making my bed. Just as in you can't leave the house without brushing your teeth in the morning, I can't leave my bedroom without making my bed. It feels effortlessly to me. So how do we teach all these habits to our children? Mainly through that consistency. Charlotte Mason gives us some exact steps to use in developing these habits. First, we identify the habit that we want to instill in our child. Then we figure out a plan which will have a natural consequence when they fail to do the action that we're training. We explain to the child why the new habit will benefit them, and we get them on our side to help us with it. And then we implement the plan consistently, that's our main word, until the habit is set. Now, the hardest part of this whole process is coming up with the correct consequence. So you've got to pick something which will be super easy for you to implement, which will be painful to your child, and which sort of makes sense to go along with the action that you're teaching. For instance, if you're trying to teach your child how to chew with their mouth closed, you are probably spending a lot of time at each meal fussing at your child about this, possibly to the point of your exasperation. However, this is probably not causing your child to actually develop the habit of chewing with their mouth closed. The wrong person is getting upset at each meal. In order for the habit to be set, the child needs to be the one upset, not you. So we need to have a consequence, such as you have to get up and leave the table if I catch you chewing with your mouth open, and you may not eat again until the next meal. Okay? So, while before you started habit training, you just fussed through the meal until you were exasperated, now you simply say, "Oh, you're chewing with your mouth open. Please get up and leave the table." You're not going to be upset at all, but I can guarantee you that they will be. This may seem like it's going to be hard, but it is not. It takes all of your emotions out of it. And guess what? They will not miss very many meals. Now, do not decide that this sounds awesome and you're going to fix everything that's wrong with your child all at once. You can't do that. You can choose one or two very unrelated habits to work on at a time. There's plenty of time to habit train your children. But here are some good examples of consequences that you can have to teach different habits. But remember, be consistent. That's the most important thing. There's been many times that I have said, "Oh, you've got to learn how to stop doing this or to start doing that. The next time you do it, I'm going to whatever." but then I am not very consistent at paying attention. Are they doing the wrong thing or not doing the right thing? And am I applying the consequence? If I don't pay attention very good, then the habit never gets set. It didn't work at all. So it's another reason why you want to make sure you're only working on one or two things at once so you can keep your mind on the fact that you're working on this. All right, so for instance, you want to teach them to make their bed. So the consequence would be that they would have to make yours or maybe a younger sibling's bed in addition to their own if they forget to make their bed. As with everything, there needs to be very strict guidelines to this. So there needs to be a period of time in the day within which they're supposed to get it made and make sure that they have plenty of access and time to do that. So if you get them up an hour before school starts and they have plenty of time to make their bed during that time, and so school starts and the bed's not made, then they had a window within which to do it and they chose not to. That's when you implement the reaction to the lack of action. Having a daily chore, same kind of thing. You have to have a time set within which they would get it done, and if it isn't done during that time, then they would have to do that chore. You would make sure that they were doing it, and you would have another chore on hand, nice and handy, to have them do as well, one that you might not normally give them to do. Not interrupting. This is a good one for little kids. So first off, give them a signal that they can use with you when you are in a conversation with another grown-up and they need your attention, so that they have a way to let you know they need you without interrupting you. But a consequence that you can have is if they forget and they do interrupt, is you can have them come and stand and hold your hand and stand silently until you are done with the conversation. And then when they tell you what they wanted, if in many cases, try very hard to have no be the answer to what they were asking for, and explain to them that the answer is no because they interrupted, not because they can't have the thing they were asking for. So the no was the consequence. The habit of working when you are supposed to be working or getting your schoolwork done in a timely manner is the first habit which should be set for a school-age child. Without this habit, it's going to be hard to get very far in their schoolwork. So first, however, you have to have a time within which it is to be done in order for this to work. If you just say, let's do school, and nothing is set by times, then you cannot train this habit. So if you're really struggling with your children spending all day piddling at their schoolwork and not getting it done, the first thing you have to do is to schedule your school day. Have a start time in the morning. Do something together to get things going, like Bible study or prayer time, read a book, have a circle time. The list goes on and on. It doesn't matter what you start with, as long as you are consistent, especially with the time. You need to figure out how long it is going to take each one of your kids to do the subjects that they need to do on their own, and you need to make a schedule which you can keep track of and follow. It takes a little work on your part up front. It may take some tweaking as you go along, but the payoff is that your children know what is expected of them. They're going to know when their school day is over. All these are great things. It is good for their psyche and their motivation. So once all this is in place, you simply make the time more important than the task. What I mean by that is that math should take 30 minutes, and then it should start at a certain time, and the timer should be set for 30 minutes. When the timer goes off, math time is over. They have to move on to the next subject. So when the school day is over, you need to make a big deal over the fact that school is over. Now it's time to play, go outside, or whatever. However, they have homework to do. So while you relax and the siblings play, they still have work to do. The consequence fits the offense because they wasted time, so now they lose their time. Now, with all that said, it's super important to make sure that your child can do this math assignment in 30 minutes. First point, never give them more than 30 minutes worth of math to do at one setting. A child's attention span is 20 minutes long. If you give them an hour's worth of work, it is overwhelming to them. Have you ever looked at a huge job and been defeated before you started because it was just too big? That's how your child feels when faced with 30 math problems. To overcome this, you can do one of two things. You can give them half as much work and be okay with it. For instance, do the odds or the even problems. Or if you really feel they need to do all the work, then you can literally cut the page in half, give them half of it at one time, do several other subjects, give them the other half another time. When you cut it in half, it'll probably take them 20 minutes or less to do those problems. Later on, you give them the other half, it'll probably also take them 20 minutes or less to do those problems. So what was probably taking an hour or more to do is now taking 40 minutes or less. Habit training is basically parenting, but with a plan that's easy to understand and follow. If you'd like more information about habit training or about Charlotte Mason's philosophy of education, there are lots of good books and plenty of information on the web. So, happy homeschooling.